Hello and welcome to another Guardians of Wiltshire video. I'm your host Dewi, and this week is another episode of Send Forth All Legions, with a focus on the Riders of Theoden. As the Battle of Pelennor Fields rages on, things seem hopeless for the forces of Gondor. The gates have been breached, their walls scaled, and now the hordes of Orcs have begun flooding the lower levels of the city. Yet, as dawn breaks from the north, the sound of horns can be heard ringing out across the crisp morning air, heralding the arrival of the Riders of Theoden. As the sun rises over the Pelennor and the Orcs seek to press their advantage, thousands of Riders of Rohan come into view from over the hill, their spears gleaming in the morning sun. At the helm of the army of the Horse Lords is Theoden, the King of Rohan, who before sending his men charging towards the maelstrom of battle, gives a powerful and impassioned speech, enough to turn the most craven hearts into those of fierce and resolute warriors. Many of Rohan's finest heroes have accompanied their king into battle. Éomer, the king's heir, gallops forth in order to bring death and ruin upon the armies of Sauron. Alongside the king ride his two most loyal protectors, Derwine, the chief of the king's knights, and Gamling, who carries the royal standard of Rohan aloft, heralding the coming of the king. With his Ered rides the accomplished Captain Elfhelm, and with him, unbeknownst to any within the Rohan army, the Lady Éowyn, disguised as the warrior Dernhelm. When the Riders of Theoden charge into battle, there are few who can stand against them. The force of their charge will smash aside shield walls and scatter those behind them. The sight of such a charge is enough to rally any ally and rout those that stand against them. So after that synopsis, we'll come straight into the army composition, and we'll start with the heroes. So you have Theoden, King of Rohan, with armoured horse, heavy armour and a shield. All as standard, no options there. Éomer, Marshal of the Riddermark, with armoured horse and shield, but he can take an option of a throwing spear. Then you have Dernhelm, which is Éowyn and Merry. Derwine, chief of the King's Knights, with horse. Gamling, Captain of Rohan, with horse, and he can take the Royal Standard of Rohan as an option. Elfhelm, Captain of Rohan, with a horse, and just a normal Captain of Rohan with a horse. He can take additionally a bow, heavy armour, shield and throwing spears. So moving on to the warriors. You have a Rider of Rohan, who can take a warhorn, a banner and throwing spears, and a Rohan Royal Guard on horse, banner and throwing spear. So quickly we'll move on to the additional rules. A Riders of Theoden force must always include Theoden, King of Rohan, clues in the name, who is always the army's leader. Dernhelm may be deployed as part of Elfhelm's warband if you wish so. If you do this, Dernhelm will count as an independent hero. That's pretty good. It means your heroes don't have to spread out as much with deployment, especially in like Maelstrom. So the special rules. Ride for Ruin and the World's Ending. Friendly Rohan cavalry models gain +1 strength on a turn which they charge. So this is carried over from the Rohan army bonus. And it is a powerful charge. Death. The King of Rohan's battle cry inspired all that followed him to perform great deeds that would be worthy of remembrance. Once per game at the start of any fight phase, so long as he is alive and on the battlefield, Theoden can declare that he is using this ability. Every friendly Rohan hero within 12 inches may declare either heroic combat or heroic strike if able, without expending might points to do so. That is one of the most powerful special rules that I've encountered. I've played with it once or twice using a friend's army, or I've played against it quite a few times with him using that army, and it is terrifying. I've had half my army, essentially you become broken with one lot of charges, because you're predominantly going to go hero heavy, as you'll see in the lists later. And it is just terrifying. Each hero hits 2, Gamling maybe 1, but you have Theoden, Dernhelm, say Elfhelm and Derwine, all hitting 2, heroic coming off them, and they're each killing 4 each, so that's easily 16 gone. You burn your might to do so with the Rohan banner, because you get it back, but it's just phenomenal. One additional thing, which I'll add on the additional rules, Riders of Rohan do not count towards the bow limit in this force, meaning you can just pack them out. That was an FAQ'd. So, the designer's notes. The Riders of Theoden Legendary Legion represents the charge of the Rohirrim at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, perhaps the most iconic scene in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Just like the Riders of Rohan in the film, every model in a Riders of Theoden force must be mounted, which is why there are no options for any infantry models and why every hero automatically comes with a mount. The combination of the Legendary Legion's 2 special rules means that a charge from this force is devastating, as depicted in the films, with all Rohan models gaining bonus to their strength, and each hero being able to call a free hero at combat. The Riders of Theoden can punch a gaping hole into the ranks of their enemies, much like we see in the film. Players who want to recreate the epic charge of the Rohirrim from the Lord of the Rings Return of the King need to look no further than the Riders of Theoden Legendary Legion. Like I say, it's a phenomenal force. I really like it. It's not an army I've got painted, but it's one I definitely want to do. This comes out just after the new AMA models come out, who looks amazing. I'm fortunate enough to have the Knight of the Pelennor model, the old metal armoured horse model. So I would be using that for my Riders of Theoden force. Overall, really good list. We'll come into the hierarchy of heroes next, and then the lists, and you will kind of see why you want to go more hero-centric. So, with the hierarchy of heroes, we'll do the normal procedure: 450, 600 and 750 points, and we might as well dive straight in. So at 450 points, you want to take Theoden, because you have to, then always gambling with his banner. Even if it's just those two, you still want it. That might regeneration is phenomenal, especially late game. Excuse me. Especially late game, with any heroes kicking around, especially if you've got more than one hero, which is why you kind of want to go more hero heavy. So then you can have Durnhelm, and at 450 you could stop there. If you want, I have in the list, which we'll come on to in a minute, but you could include Elfhelm and go really hero heavy. I think you get maybe a couple of extra models on top of those 4 heroes. Personally, I'd just go with the 3. So moving on to 600 points. This is where the hierarchy gets very interesting. So again, Theoden Gambling are your first 2 always. Then I think you can split into either going for Aemir and packing up with as many guys as you can, or you go Durnhelm followed by one of Elfhelm or Deerwine, or both. It's entirely up to you. It depends how confident you are with fewer models. If you include the 5 heroes, you will have fewer models. It's a given. I'll show you with my list because that's what I've done. Or you could go for a more troop heavy with Aemir as a really hard hitting secondary hero. At 750 points, I would say you can go all of the big heroes. So you go Theoden Gambling, Aemir, Theoden Gambling, Durnhelm, sorry, Aemir, Elfhelm, Deerwine. To be honest, I don't think there's any particular order. I've got all of them included, and I think it's the amount of punch you can give from the 6 heroes is phenomenal, especially with death. Especially with 4 of those heroes having strikes, you can really threaten most heroes, and most armies, to be honest. At 750 points, you're probably looking at about between 30 and 40 models, maybe a little bit higher. So if you can get them nearly broken in a turn with 6 charges, well, say 5 because you take out gambling, 4 guys each, that's 20 models, you've pretty much broken someone straight away. So next we'll move on to the lists, and I've kind of given a few hints away about what's in my lists, so we'll crack on with them now. Army lists. This one for me was very interesting to write, having played against it and seen it on the scene a lot. So we'll dive straight in at 450. So Warband 1 is Theoden with his armoured horse, heavy armour and shield. He has 2 Royal Guard with horses and throwing spears, and then 1 Rider of Rohan with a throwing spear. Warband 2 is Gamling on his horse with the Rohan Royal Standard. Always a mouthful. 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 1 Rider of Rohan, 2 Riders of Rohan with a throwing spear. And Warband 3 is Durnhelm, so that's Eowyn and Merry. 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 1 Rider of Rohan, and 1 Rider of Rohan with throwing spear. So it has 14 models. It has the Rohan Royal Standard banner. It has 6 bows and 4 extra throwing spears. It has 9 might with the regeneration of the standard. It's got 2 heroic strikes, it's got 2 heroic marches, a strong secondary hero in Durnhelm, who's, while still Eowyn and Merry combined with 3 attacks base. You've got the strong secondary hero in Durnhelm. You've got 4 warriors who can become fight 5 on the charge. With Theoden's buff, and everyone else becomes fight 4 on the charge. Then you've got an all-mounted force who can get +1 on the charge. So this, I think, is a good, strong 450 point list. At Into the West 2020, 2 friends who took the Riders of Theoden. 1 took Theoden and Gamling, and 1 took Theoden, Gamling and Durnhelm. And the one who didn't take Durnhelm was very much umming and ahhing about whether to drop her in. Come the end of the tournament, he said he definitely should have had her. The extra might, the extra killing power means your leader doesn't get threatened as much. Just very, very effective. So if we now move on to 600, we'll start with Warband 1, who is Theoden, armoured horse, heavy armour, shield. 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 2 Riders of Rohan. Then you have Gamling with his horse and his standard, 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 2 Riders of Rohan. And then you've got Deorwine with horse, 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, and 2 Riders of Rohan. Then you have Elfhelm with his horse, then you have Durnhelm, and then you have 1 Rider of Rohan. So that is a kind of, they're all quite small warbands, but with all the might you can get them where needed in Maelstrom if that becomes the case. So this has 16 models. It's got the Rohan Royal Standard. It's got 7 bows with 4 extra throwing spear. You've got Elfhelm with his rerolls to hits, in the ways, and to wounds. You have 15 might, which is insane to start with, and then you have the Royal Standard to regenerate that. You have 3 heroic strikes with Theoden, Durnhelm and Deorwine. You have 3 heroic marches, which is Theoden, Gamling and Deorwine. You have 2 heroic defences if you need them, or Gamling and Elfhelm. Elfhelm especially can sit in front of Gamling, just defence all day long. And you have 3 heroic combat with Deorwine if you need, when he's within 12 inches of Theoden. You have strong secondary heroes, so predominantly you're looking at Deorwine and Durnhelm, and then Elfhelm is a good kind of third tier if you want to think of it that way. You've got 3 warriors who can fight 5 on the charge. This is 1 less than 450, granted, but you do have 2 extra heroes. you're all mounted with strength, an extra strength on the charge, and fight 4 within 12 inches of Theoden with your standard riders. Again, really strong list. It is kind of maybe half the size of what you'd probably expect at 600 points. Maybe kind of a third, no, a half, 60%. But again, you call death and you pack a punch and you're suddenly on fighting on even terms and you have 5 heroes. Oh, excuse me. So moving on to 750 points, a friend has took this to Ardacon last year and did very well with it. And he took a similar list, I think. So we'll start, and we have Theoden, armoured horse, heavy armour shield, 2 Royal Guards with horse and throwing spear, 1 Rider of Rohan. You've got Gamling with the horse and the standard, 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 2 Riders of Rohan. Aemir with armoured horse and shield, 2 Riders of Rohan. Deerwine with horse, 1 Royal Guard with horse and throwing spear, 2 Riders of Rohan, and then you have Elfhelm with horse, Dernhelm, and 1 Rider of Rohan. This is 19 models at 750 points, which is small. But you have 6 heroes to whittle down those numbers really, really quickly, like kind of with a 600 point force. You've got the Rohan Royal Standard, 8 bows and 5 extra throwing spears. You've got your Elfhelm with your rerolls to hit in the way and wound, 18 might, which is absolutely insane. I don't even think Grey Company at 750 points, they might get close to that, but probably not. Then you have 18 might with the Rohan Royal Standard. You have 4 heroic strikes now because you dropped Aemir in, 3 heroic marches, 2 heroic defences, a 3 heroic combat with Deerwine, strong secondary heroes across the board, with especially Aemir. He being defense 7, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, 3/3 might will fate, really, really strong. You've got 4 fight 5 warriors on the charge, obviously within 12 inches of Theoden, and you've got an all-mounted force with +1 strength and fight 4 within 12 inches of Theoden. Really, really, really strong. I really like the look of it. It's very emotive of the films. It's one I think it could do really well. I have played against a similar force, but it didn't have Aemir and had more warriors in it, I think. I was playing with Radagast and Eagles, and very unlucky Nature's Wrath roll dismounted half of the force. But other than that, it was doing very, very well all weekend. I think it's a really cool force. I think it looks really cool on the field. Just the look of lots of riders charging across the board. It will be like it's just so reminiscent of the films, and I really, really like it. So that is the Riders of Theoden. If you've liked this video, please comment, like, share and subscribe. I'll be trying to put out kind of one every week. So yeah, we'll see you next time.